Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another week of the Auto Guide Show. This week, we drive two extremes in terms of supercars and practical everyday EVs. We have a very affordable comparison, and there are a bunch of debuts at Goodwood Festival of Speed. But first, a word from our sponsor.
Picture this. You're halfway through a DIY car fix, tools scattered everywhere, and boom, you realize you're missing a part. It's okay because you know whatever it is, it's on eBay. They've got everything: brakes, headlights, cold air intakes, whatever you need, and it's guaranteed to fit, which means no more crossing your fingers and hoping you ordered the right thing. All the parts you need at the prices you'll love, guaranteed fit every time. eBay, things people love.
And welcome back to the Auto Guide Show, brought to you by eBay Motors. So, I'm going to kick things off. First of all, we do not have Mike with us this week because he is taking a well-deserved vacation. So, we have someone who should be familiar to people who have been listening to the show for a while, Greg Migliore.
Kyle, it's good to be here. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. Or Monday for people who are listening or watching. So, first things first. I went to Portugal to drive the revised 2026 Lexus RZ. And I say revised because it needs to be pointed out. Because unlike its siblings, the Subaru Solterra and the Toyota BZ, the RZ doesn't actually look any different. But it still hides a whole bunch of upgrades, just like its siblings, including a high-performance model. And so the RZ 550E is a new 400 horsepower version of the RZ, because these days everything is 400 horsepower or more when it comes to EVs. And it also introduces a simulated shift feature, which is something that we haven't seen on many vehicles, right? Only the Hyundai and the Kia that borrowed it from it. So it's an odd move in my mind for Lexus to really lean into this driver enjoyment side with its EVs, because when was the last time Lexus even offered a manual transmission? So it does lose some range. It has a slightly bigger battery capacity for the high performance one, but yeah, it's fun. And in Europe, they have the yoke. So we don't get that still for the RZ. It only has 200 degrees of steering side to side. So it takes a little bit of getting used to. But overall, I think this is a much more competitive package now. And I think that was always the issue, right? Is all of these cars, when they launched, just never matched up with any of the competition. And now this is on par. I don't want to say it's class leading because that seems unfair. But it does feel like a much better product, and probably the product that we should have had from the beginning.
Yeah, I think it makes a ton of sense to have an entry for Lexus in this segment. It's one of those things where, I'm not quite sure where the market is going, with EVs, but you also kind of wonder, why they took this exact path. Maybe why not tweak the styling a little bit more? I think it looks pretty good. Like, they didn't need to change it, but they probably did the stuff that matters. It's more of a high fiber update. You get the protein, you get the things that probably will matter to consumers. I do wish the yoke came to the US. I think that's something that would be interesting, that could set them apart a little bit. Like, you see things like, Lincoln has kind of like a yoke type interface for the driver. And it's kind of weird. I like it, but it changes the character of the car. I think it could bring in some new customers for Lexus had they decided to go that way.
Yeah, it feels like they're trying to target younger buyers, right? And so younger buyers are probably open to this different approach. And yeah, it's weird doing steer by wire and knowing that there isn't a physical connection there. But for me, it's not that it's better or worse using a yoke versus a steering wheel. It's just different. And I think one of the nice things that maybe isn't talked about enough with a yoke is the extra sense of space you get by having such a small wheel. You're not looking over this rim, and it really does feel like you have just a lot more open air around you, because you do, but it's a nice feeling.
Yeah, I think it's a good way to make the car feel a little more tech forward, but also sort of luxurious. It's a little bit of a risk too, and I think I'm a little surprised, frankly, Lincoln did it here. I can see why Lexus decided maybe not to, just because given that the customer base, what those types of customers probably want, you think of income level and frankly age at times too. I'm not sure you necessarily need to go down that road. So, I mean, I would like it, but probably more of an edge case, as they say.
Yeah. So I guess that feels like a good segue, talking about edge cases. Greg, what did you drive recently?
Well, I was the rock star of the neighborhood with the McLaren 750S, Volcano yellow. Just the paint alone cost $11,500. So it's a bit of a rocket ship. I had a great time driving it, as one does. And when you drive things like this, I think you struggle to not just like totally gush over it, because it's an amazing experience, right? But how do you contextualize it? And the place I landed is that McLaren is really taking its space alongside Ferrari and Lamborghini and some of the other high-end niche Porsches and Mercedes, is a very credible supercar maker. This is, I think we would probably call it a hypercar, just looking at the specs. Top speed 206, 0 to 60 in 2.3, 740 horsepower, gobs of carbon fiber. McLaren was one of the pioneers of that carbon fiber, like kind of monocoque cell. And they've, iterated on that over the last 15, 20 years. And to me, this is like the highest evolution of, what McLaren is. They even say it's the most powerful and the lightest series car they've made. So there's some other, one-offs and limited ranges that obviously you can get in the comments and tell me that I'm wrong on. But as far as like mainstream, this is it. So powerful, light, and it looks amazing. $420,000 out the door. So, I was very grateful to have the nose thing. You don't want to curb the front end of this thing. It was a great time. And I think it's, I kind of sum it up with, if you're like cross shopping for a Ferrari, now a McLaren should be on your list. Perhaps, a few years ago, you might have said, they're still trying. Maybe they're not there. Maybe this, there's a reason you like McLarens, you go with it. But now I think all of the basic elements of the car are definitely in evidence here, where you could, again, we're Auto Guide, we're consumer site in many ways. You could cross shop this legitimately and, feel like you're getting your money's worth.
Well, that's good to hear, because that was something I was going to ask you when driving this is, McLaren's been doing this for the road car thing outside of the F1 for like 15 years now. Yeah. And so to you, it sounds like they've properly established themselves in the market at this point. It's not just like, oh, here's this weird left field choice. It's like, no, this is a credible alternative.
Yeah, you go back to the MP4-12C, which was, I think, 08, 09, somewhere in there. And that was a much more basic sort of supercar. And then they sort of have grown up from there, both in terms of style and power. So I think they're getting there. It's one of those things too, where just even like looking at it, I think, you tell me if I'm crazy. I think this is actually better looking than many things in Ferrari's lineup. I think it's a more evolved look. I think it's more complete. And I think they're trying to make a beautiful car. Like, look at those headlights, look at the doors with the aerodynamic treatments, the kind of concave, like inlets. Like, they're going for it. Whereas, and I wrote this in my story, I feel like this is how Ferraris used to look when Pininfarina was doing their styling. So I think it's worth it.
Yeah, I use the original the 720S as an example of designers having to think long term, where the headlight design, right, with the blackout look, that was very shocking when it first debuted, but it's become such a signature part of McLaren's look now, where I've seen a few models where people have actually done the body color insert and it looks wrong. Like, this is the correct look. And I think that's a really fascinating thing, where designers have to plan way longer than we think about in terms of cycles. And yeah, I think it's a very classic car, right, which is a weird thing to say, but yeah, like there's curves and flow, and I see hints of F1 in the profile. It's a great looking car.
Yeah, I think it's also like, a couple of complaints you could say is ergonomically, it's a little tight in there, but I've driven, I think the last probably true supercar I drove was the Maserati MC20. That was last fall, maybe 2 falls ago at this point, but those stick out in your mind. They don't come along every 6 weeks. That one was maybe laid out a little better. The infotainment system, not great. Not that you care. It's tiny. That could be an area, though, I think is, these companies continue to evolve. Maybe they actually do start to pay attention to that, just because you want to be connected to your car in all the ways that, you want to be connected. And that's telling you more information. That's, maybe setting things up, things like that. So it's, a relatively non-intimidating car to drive. The first time I drove a McLaren was at Willow Springs. So talk about a baptism by fire, right? And I thought it was easier to drive than the Lamborghini Aventador that I also drove out there. So the steering was a little more connected. The visibility was good. And I think a lot of that came through in this car too. So, I mean, to me, it's like, I don't even want to say, hey, nice try. You've only been doing this for 15 years or 20 years. But I mean, you can say that and also say, nice try. Welcome to the club. I think they're in there with, the other exotics.
Nice. All right. Well, moving right back to the other end of the spectrum. This is a spin-off from our mega comparison a while back.
Yeah.
And this was a different sort of matchup because these were the two turbocharged compact sedans. And they're both either new or refreshed for 2025. So it felt like a good match. And then, of course, they were both blue. So that sealed it. But it's the Volkswagen Jetta versus Kia K4. And in the mega comparison, the Jetta actually finished slightly ahead. And sure enough, when we took them out and really compared the two on their own, both of them have their strengths, but it was the Jetta that we liked a lot more. And it remains one of the actually affordable vehicles on the market, which is becoming increasingly rare these days.
Yeah, I mean, so to me, both these cars are neck and neck. I think the way you would slice it up is almost like, it's like, what flavor of ice cream do you like? I think they bring, like, powertrains are pretty similar. I wasn't part of this comparison, but I've driven both these cars, and I think I would give the slight edge to the K4 just as far as like the way it handles. And I mean, styling is subjective, but it's a little bit of a fresher design. Whereas the Jetta almost seems a little, and in a good way, it can almost pass as an Audi. So I think that's a good thing, but it's a little more austere, a little more below the radar.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's a great way to put it. I feel like the Jetta was a very pragmatic choice for us, where like I appreciate what Kia is doing, and I think I said it in the main video that I don't remember what the Forte looks like. Like if I close my eyes, nothing. But the K4, immediately recognizable. It also has an incredibly cool nighttime light signature from the back because those tail lights are so wide and then they extend so low. I think they're doing daring stuff, right? And that's something that the Koreans have really done well for the last, decade at this point. They take chances and sometimes it doesn't work, but at least they're doing it. And overall, I think if you're looking for something sportier, absolutely the K4. The Jetta has incredible fuel efficiency for a non-hybrid. And so long term, that's probably what is, making my decision for me. But the seats in the Jetta are bad. I don't know what Volkswagen has done, but they feel like stools. So that was a bit of a disappointment, especially because that's not a problem in any of their other vehicles.
And that's disappointing, I think, too, because the Jetta traditionally, I think, has had a pretty comfortable interior. You get in there, it's this German setup. It's relatively easy to use. Usually the materials are pretty nice, even in the lower trims. And it's a comfortable car. It's sort of like maybe not a first car, but it's like usually a newer car for people, and you don't, I don't know, that's not a great area to, sort of, throw a flag.
Yeah, these aren't McLarens. People are going to be putting lots of miles on them every year. So those are all the driven portions of our talk this week. Now let's go on to all the new reveals, because never mind Goodwood, it was just a big week for regular cars. So we're going to start with probably the best-selling model out of all of these new reveals in the next year, the 2026 Mazda CX-5. And look, I'll admit it. On last week's episode, I said it was probably just another facelift of the existing model. I was wrong. This is a whole new model. It is bigger in every dimension, and they're losing the turbo engine.
Yeah, that's a little disappointing, but from a product strategy, it makes total sense. Like the hybrid's gonna, sell more. I think I would be curious to kind of even know how like Mazda's engines break down, as far as like take rate, things like that. Like I could see it getting to a point where maybe the way the turbo is priced, not just with the CX-5, but even across the lineup, people might go for some of the other options out there. So I like the turbo, but this makes a lot of sense to me to get that hybrid in there. Not sure I really like these looks. I mean, I know we've talked a lot about design, but I think they kind of made it look a little duller, almost like it, knows like, I don't know, it looks a little like Nissan-y in a way, like just a little generic. So that's not my favorite part of it.
Okay, yeah, no, that's a good point, especially like about the powertrains as well. Is yeah, like we're seeing it with a lot of brands where the hybrid ends up being the higher power option as well as more fuel economy. So why bother having a more powerful turbo engine? This one will be interesting because it will be Mazda's in-house hybrid system when it debuts next year. It won't be the Toyota sourced setup that we see in the CX-50. So I'm always curious to see when Mazda tries something new because it's a small company. And so they've probably had to put a lot of time and effort into this. And the CX-5 is one of the only vehicles without a hybrid at this point in this category. So it can't come soon enough. I also want to point out, listeners and viewers for that matter can't see it, but the interior is massively different. Still very minimalist and swanky in the way that Mazda's been doing for a decade at this point, but a giant touchscreen.
Yeah.
Mazda has done the thing that it said it wasn't going to do. And it's funny because, of course, right as we're all coming around and saying, you know what, I actually kind of like the Mazda setup because I like all the physical controls. Now they're going to a setup that, even in the preview images, shows that climate controls are locked in the screen.
Yeah, I don't know about that. The CX-90, I think, is a good example of, Mazda's infotainment experience sort of at its best, as far as like crossovers. And it took a while for me to kind of fully be on board with it, but I think I finally got there. And now we're going to have to learn this situation, which, it could go either way. If like the screen itself, like that haptic touch is good, sure, maybe this will even be an upgrade. But, a little skeptical on that one. We'll see. And there's also, I mean, to your point right off the top here, this is a significant, redesign. Like the dimensions are different. And we don't see that a lot even in alleged redesigns, car companies say it's different. We're like, but the specs are the same. How is that different? But this is significant. There's going to be more room in it, more cargo room. So they're really going for like right at the core of that, CX-5 customer who, I mean, bigger is better.
Yeah. So that Mazda didn't actually give a release date, but nonetheless, I am very excited to get behind the wheel soon.
Ooh.
So, moving on to the Goodwood debuts, or at least Goodwood themed, let's say. The 2026 Hyundai Ioniq 6N. There's not a lot for me to really say about this. I love the Ioniq 5N. It is one of my favorite cars on the market these days. And now you get all the fun of it in a sedan shape. And there's a few little upgrades to things like the simulated shifter, the sounds, and you can even make your own custom tracks, apparently, with one of the modes, and then have a little ghost on screen showing you what your lap times were.
The Ioniq 5N was one of my favorite cars that I've driven in the last year. I was at a group test, and I had gotten there kind of early. I arrived, like skipped breakfast, grabbed the keys, went straight to the 5N and took it out and just started mashing and doing like, acceleration tests and destroying the battery range probably for everybody else. Such a riot to drive. Obviously, we knew this was coming. And I think this is good for Hyundai to build their brand, expand this type of power and capability into, the 6, which it's a swoopier, different footprint as opposed to the 5, which is obviously more of that traditional, sort of hatch setup. Can't wait to drive it. I mean, it's kind of a cliche, but I like the 6. I think I drove it a fair amount. It was in the fleet quite a bit last fall, and it's just a good car to drive. So I kind of want to give Hyundai bonus points here too for sticking with like a pretty traditional sedan with going for its styling. Like whenever I've done a review, I've tried not to pour it on too thick. Like it's not like a 1930s Bugatti, but when you look at it, there is this, like, if you want to see it, this kind of swoopy Art Deco, like, you kind of got to put this stuff in your head, if you will. But it's not a traditional design by any means. They're going for it.
No, for me, at least the pre-facelift has always been interesting, because this facelift, I get that it's more conventionally attractive with the slim headlights, but it loses that snail-like tail that I actually really liked on the old one. In my mind, it was the closest we got to a modern Saab. And I kind of, I appreciate the different shape, right? I cannot wait to drive this. So we're going to have to fight for the keys. I will happily also skip breakfast to go drive it early. That was a good call.
High-powered sedan, sign me up for it. This is great,
Yeah.
I think you're still seeing some of the the fingerprints of like Albert Bierman and some of the other executives that Hyundai and Kia and Genesis recruited. Some of these guys were sort of at the back nine of their career after being at BMW, other places, Audi, like Peter Schreier. And a lot of the things that they worked on 5-10 years ago are now coming to the market, and some of these guys are retired. And I think it's a great thing. It's, we talked about maturity with McLaren. We're seeing a lot of maturity and sophistication with, Hyundai Motor Co. in things like this.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. We're just ping-ponging all over the place here. So this is the Pagani Huayra Codalunga Speedster. There will just be 10 of them. And I had to include this because I think we all agree here. Pagani's just art.
Yeah.
There's nothing else for me to say. It's the roadster version of the coupe. It has an 864. Yeah. 864 horsepower. Yep. A choice of 2 different 7-speed transmission choices. Either you get the sequential or you get a manual. And it was I didn't know about this. I've not been paying attention to the latest Paganis. Weirdly, I'm not in their clientele. This is a product of the Grandi Complicazioni division, which to me translates as lots of complication, which I mean, seems fair. I like that Pagani can just do this stuff, right? Like they can go the other way and have an R, and it is a carbon fiber missile for track duty. And then this, even though it is made with a lot of carbon fiber, you don't see it. The idea here is just really an homage to the 60s endurance racers, and gosh, it's gorgeous.
I was just watching the movie Enzo, the sort of biopic of Enzo Ferrari, and it's set mostly in 1957. And cars of this era, slightly maybe before what this is going for, are just the stars of the show in addition to the actors. So when I saw this, I was in that right mindset to kind of be looking at things like this. It's such a great tribute to 1960s racing, open top racing, when motorsports was so much more dangerous, and you look at, some of the ways like the switch gear and things are set up in there. It's pretty awesome. And then, the touches like mahogany, like, sure, why wouldn't you do that? Right. And it's super cool. If it wasn't for like Goodwood, I would see this at what used to be the Geneva Motor Show or something like that. So, pretty cool.
Yeah, I highly recommend to any listeners or viewers, if for whatever reason you're ever in Italy, make the detour. Go check out Pagani. It's a cool little museum. Moving forward, a little more approachable, we have the latest Aston Martin, the Vantage S. So the V8 model, which I don't know about you, Greg, but for me, knowing that the V8 makes 671 horsepower now. Like, that's the smaller Aston Martin. My mind boggles. Power is on another level these days. So this gets slight updates, slightly more power, a wing that provides actual downforce, some red accents that remind us of Hellcats from a few years ago. It's a different color. And that's all I have to really say on it.
I mean, it's, kind of a straight ahead update for, the Vantage. Reminds everybody that Aston Martin is a going concern because, there are companies like McLaren and, Mercedes is getting more and more enthusiast oriented with all their different variants and versions. I mean, it looks cool as hell. I think every time I've driven an Aston Martin lately, I've been, pretty, excited. I think the aura of the brand is still there too. So this is cool. And I think you look how much the company's grown since, they left Ford ownership and, you're seeing like the cars are definitely, they have that oomph that, I think the customers want. So.
Yeah, it feels like they've leaned more into the outright sporty thing than they used to back in the Ford days, but without necessarily giving up that high-end British feel. So, and I mean, they're using Mercedes engines, and no one seems to be bothered by that. Mercedes is basically or at least AMG is basically German muscle cars, so it kind of works.
That's one of those deals where you see like these small, I hesitate to call them like coach builders, but smaller operations that team up with somebody like a Mercedes, get access to their engines, and I think people are just okay with it. Like, it wouldn't bother me in the least. So
yeah. All right. Moving on to another British thing. This was odd. So the Bentley EXP 15 concept is a very different look from Bentley, and it previews their smaller all-electric. Well, it doesn't preview their smaller electric EV, but the styling is meant to give us an idea of where the brand is going for its EV age when it launches its first electric car next year.
This is far out. This is, I mean, Bentley's done some insane concepts in the last 10, 15 years. And usually they're not literal carbon copies of what we're going to get, but you see some of the elements. So I would expect like maybe that front end and maybe the silhouette will translate into, what they're going for here. But this also struck me as a little bit of a, hey, we need to make a splash here with this thing. Let's do it. Their designers kind of went crazy. I don't know. Concepts are fun. I like design. I like style. And so I don't want to knock them for like going for it, but I don't know about this thing as far as just how it looks. I think it looks a little weird.
Yeah, it does look weird, but I'm with you. Like, I feel like most concepts these days are just thinly disguised production cars. So when we get something that's actually out there, we should probably celebrate it because it's a good opportunity to really let designers stretch their legs, expand. The interior, I will say, is incredible. I do love that. Bentley interiors have been great for forever, as far as I'm concerned. So it's a really great space full of colors and textures. The 3-seat setup is a little odd, but I get it.
Yeah.
And the tailgate that expands out into tiny little booster seats with a fridge. Cool. These are the out there concepts that I want to see on a concept. So,
One thing that I do hope translate is if you look at the interior pictures, it is a more futuristic, forward-facing type of look. Whereas the last few Bentleys I've driven have been very like old money, plush. Everything is like coach built, and that's good. That's what the customer base is. I get it. When your number one rival is Rolls-Royce, that's what you got to do, right? But I kind of like what I've seen here as far as like, lighting, kind of sleeker shapes. I think, frankly, Bentley could use some of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that gives me hope for next year's production model. And lastly, Subaru, we finally know the name of its upcoming EV, the Uncharted. And we got a teaser trailer. Now, I can't zoom in here on the recording, but I did do that in the article that you can go read on the website. And yeah, it basically looks like a Toyota CHR, which we kind of thought was going to happen. It's just, in my mind, that's an odd fit for the brand.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. It's it again, without zooming in too much, you don't get a great look at this, but it's kind of according to what we expected, and the name's kind of different. I mean, I'm trying to figure out, like, I'm picturing the ad with like two golden retrievers in there, and they're like Subaru Uncharted. I don't know. It also seems like
it writes itself.
It does, yeah. But we'll see. I mean, I guess the other thing is we're starting to run out of car names at this point. So if that's what they got to call it, sure. Okay.
Hey, look, like, good for Subaru for sticking to names. Outside of its sporty models, it does that. So I can't really knock them. This is one that we'll be seeing in person next week. We'll be there at the reveal. So I'm very curious, because while it does seem CHR shaped, I imagine Subaru will do something else with it, especially because Toyota is pitching theirs very much as like an on-road EV, and this is in the middle of a field. So maybe it'll have some wilderness-inspired cues that set it apart.
I think that could be that is the playbook for Subaru right there too, is differentiate yourself that way. And get people excited, in ways that people probably don't get excited about most Toyota or Honda or Nissan models. So let's steer into it.
Yeah. Well, Greg, that was a lot. We had a lot to cover this week. It was great. And so we're going to take a brief break here on the Auto Guide Show, brought to you by eBay Motors. And then Colum and I will be back to talk F1. And then we'll actually have Mike parachute in to do a special guest interview. And then Greg and I will be back to wrap up with what's next. So we'll talk in just a sec.
Picture this. You're in the garage, your favorite room in the house, and you're tuning up your engine with parts you found on eBay. Every piece is just locking perfectly into place. You step back to admire your work, hands covered in grease, and because you're committed to driving that thing further than the odometer can handle, you start to think to yourself, you know what, I could probably also use some new brakes, some shocks and struts, and this baby deserves a new air filter. So you head right back to eBay. You can find any part you need there. It's unreal. From wipers and headlights to cold air intakes, exhaust systems, and even that turbo you've had on your mind. eBay is the stocked garage of your dreams, and you've got eBay Guaranteed Fit. Because eBay knows DIY fixes can be major, and mods are always intense, so you need to know that these parts guaranteed to fit every time before you dive in wrench first. And in the off chance you order a part and it doesn't fit, send it back, simple as that. You know what you love more than the car itself is driving it. You're serious when it comes to engine maintenance, and you're locked in when you're headed into a build. And that's exactly why you start with eBay, minor fix or complete overhaul. You want to get your ride back on the road, and you've got eBay Guaranteed Fit. So eBay created My Garage, where all you have to do is add your ride's info and get the exact parts that fit. When you see the green check, you're a click away from that part clicking perfectly into place. So now that you know all that, imagine standing at that open garage door looking at your car you love more than anything, knowing that anything is possible. Whether it's keeping it on the road forever or turning it into something that's never been on the road before. Because with eBay, your garage just got a whole lot bigger. Get all the parts you need at prices you love, guaranteed to fit every time. eBay, things people love. All right, welcome back. This week we have a special guest joining us from overseas. If you could just introduce yourself and sort of what you do in the car world.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Mike. Well, my name is Juan Manuel. I go by Juanma, as you can see on screen. And I was born in Argentina. And I have been living in the Netherlands for 3 years now, a little bit over 3 years. So that's basically my place in the world. Yeah, regarding cars, I love them since I was little, as probably many of your listeners do as well. And yeah, I'm happy to bring everything that I have in cars in my life to this podcast.
Sounds great. So before we get into cars, completely off topic, but how is it completely flipping your seasons upside down? I always wonder what that would be.
Well, that's a really interesting question because sometimes you think about it and sometimes you really don't. For me, my whole life was kind of upside down in that sense. Like you saw Christmas movies, snow, all those things while you're like 32 degrees and trying to die in a pool. Basically, that's one of the most notable things about that. And then also the weirdest thing is your own birthday, because I've been celebrating my birthday for 32 years in spring in October, and all of a sudden it's like crappy weather, rain, cold. So I can't say I'm as happy as my wife, who swapped the other way around.
Yeah, I never thought of that, but yeah, my birthday's at the end of this month, so I always get a nice, beautiful summer birthday. But if it's down there, it'd
Exactly.
be the
Lucky
dead of
you.
winter. So
Yeah, we
All right.
both be in the dead of winter. That's not
Yeah,
fun.
that'd be nice. All right, so getting back to cars and whatnot. So you said you're into cars ever since you were little. Was this something you're kind of born into family wise, or is it something you got into yourself?
No, I would say it was mostly family-wise, because my family back in Argentina were owners of a tire repair shop since I think the 60s probably. And my dad was always into cars. My uncle, his brother, also was always into cars. He actually collected model cars, mainly 1 to 18 scale, but also some smaller ones. And to the point that now that I live here in Europe, it's a little bit more common to see. But back in Argentina, it's not really common. He had a whole room dedicated to having displays and model cars. And that was pretty awesome. And he at one point ended up living in the same building that I did. So I was there regularly, just went there, looked at whatever car I was the high enough with my height to actually be able to see. So yeah, that, and with my dad, for example, on Sundays, watching the F1 and also the local races. But yeah, mainly I would say it started from very very little. My little brother, he's 2 years younger than me, and he also likes cars, but he's also more into football, soccer. So it's a little bit of both. He also likes them, but not as much as I do.
So it's interesting you brought up F1 because I was going to ask you. So where do your alliances lie? Is it Colapinto, Old
Well,
World, or is it Verstappen?
yeah, so at this point, I am a little bit far away from F1. So I do follow some of the news here and there. And of course, in terms of country, I do root for Colapinto. But I would say I was more up to date during the Schumacher era, which is
Okay.
what we watched the most with my dad. And after that, it wind down a little bit over time. Then I moved out, so I stopped watching it. And when I moved here, I got much more into endurance races. And yeah, I never really got back to F1. Then with the Drive to Survive thing, I felt like a lot of it was like created drama for the show. So it's like, yeah, I'm more into the other side of things.
Just before I'll call it, ask a question a
Yeah.
second, but is Fangio still like a national hero back home?
Yeah. Yes, I actually have been asked a lot of times if my name is after him. It's
I didn't
not.
think of that.
Yeah, it's not. But yeah, I do think of him fondly. I have been doing a little bit of research lately as well. I have some books from some of his legendary races, like right back from the computer. But it's a really really nice. I've been to the museum in Balcarce, which is the city he was born and raised. There he was also buried when he died. and up to 2021, he was actually in the regular cemetery of the city. And I was there for the event when they moved his remains to a mausoleum inside the museum as well. So it was a really emotional moment as well. So
I imagine, yeah, it's one of F1's best drivers ever. It's
yeah,
a national
absolutely.
hero. Yeah.
Yeah.
I imagine that means you're also kind of a fan of Pagani. I assume.
I am. I will show you. I have my camera bag actually has Horacio's signature over here. I don't know if you can see it.
Oh yeah.
I met him twice. Once there in Valcarce, when they were doing this homage for Fangio, and I met him again in the Festival of Speed 2023, no, or 24. I don't remember. I think 24. And that's where I got him to sign this. I got a picture as well. It was really, really nice. He's such a nice guy for how busy he is. So yeah, really, really a huge fan of him and his cars as well.
And you're a little bit closer now to going to the museum and the plant, just a little bit now.
Yes, absolutely. It's one of my plans. I have not been to Italy yet. I do have plans of going with my wife at some point, but the thing is, she's not really into cars. So everything that I plan around cars usually is a trip by myself, like when I went to the Festival of Speed or when I went to Le Mans. So I still have to see how I will make that work, but I'm sure I will do it.
My bit of advice, because I went there a few years ago for our honeymoon, is you sandwich it between two places that your partner would like to go to. That seems to be easier. Like we went for 2 days to Modena, and we did Ferrari and Lamborghini and Pagani, and then it was like, okay, now we'll do the other stuff. So
it's like a trick.
Yeah, I think we're all in the exact same situation, married to people who aren't really into cars, but you make it manage. So let's go back to, well, not too far back, but what was your first car? And was it back in Argentina, I assume?
Yes, it was back in Argentina. I got my first car at 17 years old. So that would be around like 22. Oh, I was going to say 2016, but that's 10 years later. Dang. Yes, 2006 or so, which is actually the first moment in Argentina where you're legally allowed to get a driver's license. So when you're 17, you can get it with permission and signature of your parents. But from 18 on, you can get it by yourself. And I was lucky enough that in my family, there's this kind of custom where no one really buys their own car 100% by themselves, because sometimes it's related to like the company, the tire repair shop, like in terms of getting it easily and whatnot. And what's usually done is that the newest car goes to the people with the oldest car, and then everything trickles down. So it's kind of like that, so that everyone can have like kind of a newer car whenever a new car joins, let's say, the family. And of course, when there's new drivers, sometimes that oldest car trickles down to this new driver, which was my case. So my first car in 2006 was a 1994 Fiat Duna, which is the saloon version of the Fiat Uno. And it was mostly fabricated in Brazil, I think, for Latin America. And I don't really know if it was actually sold in Europe or elsewhere. And they also did a station wagon version, which was basically a stretched Fiat Uno. And yeah, it was a diesel engine, 1.9, I think like 54 horsepower, something like that. So 0 to 60 in a couple of days.
I just looked it up. It's very square.
Yeah, but it just took me around, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, that's all you need at that time. And when you're that age, you think it's the coolest thing. I
Yeah.
didn't have a car at 17, but I had my license, and I drove my parents' absolute base model 3-speed automatic Cavalier and a Safari van, and I thought I was the coolest kid ever.
Yeah, actually, for all the people watching, I actually have the a model car here that I can show you, which is easier than anything else. So it's
Ah,
something like this. Was my first car, but in red. The rest was basically the same. And yeah, I also felt the coolest kid at school because at 17, almost no one, if anyone, had a car then. And
nice.
it was just 20 blocks away from school. Like I usually like just took the bus, or you can even walk. It's not really much, but yeah, it was the coolest.
It's funny how people get so nostalgic for their first car, regardless of how terrible. This is usually right over here. I have a picture of a Alero, which everyone laughs at because that was my first car, an Alero coupe manual. But yeah, if I ever got a chance to get my hands on one again, I probably would, even though it wasn't
Yeah.
a good car.
Yeah, I would say that two of my most fondly remembered cars was, of course, the Fiat Dunas, my first car, and then my dad's car at the time, which is the car I learned to drive with, which was another diesel car, Renault Megane. The first, it was the first generation, but the facelift version, and also it was the saloon version. So that's
Nice.
also a very, very, very good memories with that car. Such hard clutch.
Sounds like my Genesis coupe right now. It's aftermarket clutch, and you need to really get some left leg strength to put it in.
Yeah.
Exercise.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so you just mentioned another car you drove. Between then and let's say now, have you owned a favorite car that like was really cool, or are you just kind of sticking with transportation to get you here and there?
Well, my current car is my favorite car that I have ever had, and it's also what I think it's a cool car, and it's a '99 Audi TT, the
Oh,
coupe
nice.
version, and it doesn't have a spoiler, which is even rarer.
Oh,
I was just about to
So
ask that. I was about to say, is this before the
that's
spoiler was mandated?
that's what makes it even cooler. And it's a very boring silver one with very stock look, which is what I wanted because
mhm.
it's basically the car that looks the most like the concepts.
Hmm.
And also every like brochure that you can find from the era, it you just watch and it's like it's my car. It's
Mhm.
exactly my car, like the same wheels, same color, no spoiler. It's like, yeah. And then, of course, I did my research regarding would I outlive the car if if I bought it because of the accidents. But yeah, everything looked like the issues were like over 180 kilometers per hour and above. So basically, autobahn speeds
Hmm.
and not elsewhere. Here in the Netherlands, the max speeds are getting slower and slower. Currently, during daytime, like from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., the highways have a max speed of 100 kilometers per hour, so 60
Hmm.
miles per hour, and you can only go 120 from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m., which is where there's like no cars around. Which, yeah, it's of course like cruising. This is a six-speed manual 225, so it's like it doesn't
Oh,
even wake
nice.
up.
Yeah.
Yeah, 225 is great. I mean, I don't know if they made it in anything but silver in 99. Like every TT you see from then is
It
silver.
was,
So
yeah,
yeah. So you got
Yeah,
the
I
right
feel
color.
like
That's very cool.
I feel like they never even really bothered showing it in an official capacity in any color until the V6 showed up, and then it was that papaya orange. That was
yeah, yeah, yeah.
that was it.
Yeah, and
Hmm.
then there's like the other versions, like the Quattro Sport for the UK, which is I think red and black, or
Hmm.
blue and black, depending on the version. That's also really, really cool. But yeah,
Mhm.
I I have seen so many variants in like the Facebook groups where you see people's cars, but it does really feel like every official thing was like silver.
It's so
That
cool to
was-
have that. Oh, sorry, Mike. Go ahead.
Go on, Kyle.
Okay, I was
just
just gonna say it's.
yeah.
Oh,
Go ahead.
all right. It's very cool that you have the non-spoiler one though, because I think like now that the TT is out of production, that's such an iconic design that really like influenced just so much of design in the early 2000s.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think a lot of people don't really like it when they see it because they're so used to seeing with the spoiler that they feel like this car is like looks incomplete. But for me, it's the complete opposite. For me, it's like the purest form. You see it like straight on sideways, and it's almost symmetrical. Like
Mhm.
the curvature from the rear is almost mimicking the curvature from the front, and you only, of course, it's not that you can confuse it, but even the shape of the light, the front and the rear lighthouses are very, very similar. I think they're not swappable, but for very, very little difference. And you're sitting right in the middle of the car if you see it sideways. Actually, when this is a really fun story, but when I park my car, to my side there's like a bike rack, and no matter which way I park the car, I always have it like straight, like perpendicular to me, because the car is like so symmetrical, like front and back, and you're sitting right in the middle. So yeah, it's a really cool design, and I think the later ones are absolutely better cars in 99% of the ways, but I don't think they ever reached the sort of like iconic design or like the difference between these and other cars from the era. And even between generations, right? It's like sometimes I see a Mark II or a Mark III very quickly, and I cannot really know which one it is. Of course, you can, but yeah, I think the Mark I is much more like distinctive.
Mhm.
Yeah, to Kyle's point about having the non-spoiler and sort of what you're saying, we seem to be right now in the era with those cars where the YouTubers and the project guys are getting old examples and because they're dirt cheap and beating them up. But
Yeah,
the next era will be they'll start going up in value, and I think what you have will be the collector's one long term because there were
yeah.
so few and it's that iconic look.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think the ones in good shape and probably low mileage will be up in price. Mine, I kind of on purpose bought a not so low mileage one. I bought it with 186k kilometers, and now it's almost 200k. Because it is my only car and I use it, and I bought it to use it and to enjoy it, and it puts a smile on my face every time I like push the pedal to the bottom and nothing happens because 90s turbo lag, and suddenly I'm at the back of my seat, and it's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so my next question about it is you've moved and you've had a few years to kind of get used to the Netherlands. What's the difference like in terms of car culture?
Well, I initially thought that the Netherlands was a very non-car friendly culture, so that was a little bit of a concern for me before moving, because of course we love cars, and I was thinking that maybe it was not the best move, but the other benefits just outweighed this minor inconvenience, potential inconvenience. And yeah, with the years that I've been here, I did notice that there is actually a nice car culture. Car people are really nice. And what happens is that it is kind of expensive to be a car enthusiast in the Netherlands, because for example, cars themselves have a lot of taxes just to get a car. The UK or even Germany or whatever.
Mhm.
Like my car, for example, I bought it for a little bit under 6k euros, And a similar example, probably not the same like non-spoiler one. Oh, sorry guys, I think I lost you for a bit. Or
Your image is frozen, but we can hear you, so it might just.
Yeah.
Oh, there you're moving again.
okay,
That's okay. We can cut that part out.
okay. I'll try to go back a little bit. So the things that I thought when before coming here about the car culture was that they were not a very car friendly country, and also because taxes are so high for car related things, and especially to get a car. And for example, to show the difference with the UK or Germany or anywhere close to the Netherlands, my car was purchased for a little bit under 6K euros. And a similar example with spoiler, but from the same age and similar mileage, like in the UK, is probably like 2K or even less in British pounds. And in Germany, it's probably like 3K or 4K euros, not much more than that.
Wow.
So everything in terms of new cars is much higher, which of course drives used prices up as well. So it's not the tax on the used cars, but it's on the new cars that makes the used market go a little bit up. I remember, for example, when there was a couple of years ago, the whole world going crazy about the GR Yaris that was around like 30K British pounds. And I saw the price here and it was like 50K euros. I was like, whoa, where am I moving to? Like, I don't want to live there. I like cars. But yeah, in the end, it's a little bit of higher barrier of entry. But once you have something, if you sell it, you're probably getting more money than outside. And then if you get another car, it's probably going to be similar. So yeah, that's a little bit about the car culture. And yeah, in Argentina is a very, very car enthusiast filled country. Of course, with all the sports, with Fangio, Colapinto, with Pechito Lopez in Le Mans. So we have had a couple of good drivers that made some of the categories famous, so that even regular people at least follow or know who they are. And in terms of acquiring a car in Argentina, the market, at least from the time that I've been alive and able to get a car, was never really promising because there were a lot of both import taxes and import blocks that, for example, were trying to protect like the local produce of cars, even like from Argentina and also from Latin America in general, because we have like trade deals. So anything that was outside was called the Mercosur, which includes Mexico as well, has much more taxes. So they are kind of like cars for like richer people. So in Argentina, cars like a regular like BMW 3 Series is seen as a car from a people who has money. So it's not really something that's you see usually on the streets. Of course, you see them, but it's kind of like a status symbol. And of course, from 3 Series and going upwards, it gets very crazy. But yeah, we're talking about things like, I don't know, like Ferraris, new Ferraris costing like over 500K US dollars. So things like that, like Ferraris that are like 100 or 200K outside of the country in any regular country, they are upwards of 500K. Because you're literally buying one car for you and one car for the government.
That's crazy. So we've talked a lot about sort of cars and your history with them. Let's talk about what you're doing now, and that's your automotive digital art, which is awesome. So
yes, thank you.
So
Yeah,
if you can let people know the company and the site, and then I'll talk a bit about it because I've been perusing them lately, and there's some really cool stuff there.
Yeah, thank you, thank you. Yeah, well, I started illustrating cars around 2019, I think, digitally. I always liked to draw, but there's this story that my mom always tells that when I was very little, like 5, 6, 7 years old, I did some drawings, and I got so frustrated that I just grabbed the paper and wrinkled everything and threw it away. So there's almost no record of my childhood drawings, and that was very frustrating for me. So for many, many, many years, I didn't even try. And at one point, I started doing some digital art, and of course, there you have the magical undo button, and of course, all other kind of tools that you have, like layers and a lot of things that makes your life much easier. And I kind of found my groove, let's say. And yeah, I started very simple because I didn't really know much about it, and started doing a little bit more detail, a little bit more complex. And when I felt more comfortable, I did uh, already like more complex pieces. And at one point, I created an account. Back then, it was on Twitter. It's called Creating Lightly, and that's a little bit of how it started. I also started doing some commissions. I really like uh, I really like weird cars, older cars, and that's also something that's very popular in like the Twitter/Blue Sky community. So
Yeah.
yeah, I found kind of my people there, and people who uh, were excited when you saw like a weird like Renault 21 from the 90s. Like, oh my God, look, it's looks so cool. And it's like, yeah, it does. So yeah, those kind of things. Yeah, I kept drawing. I even had some people contact me for some special requests. Like for example, in I don't remember the year now, but I think probably 2021 or so. One person contacted me, and he turned out to be the director of the main sponsor of Nielsen Racing, which is one of the teams in the LMP2 category of Le Mans.
Mhm.
And he told me by then that they had won the uh, Michelin Cup. I think it was the LMP3 by then, that it's I think non-existing anymore.
Mhm.
And he was very happy, and he loved my art, and he wanted me to do an illustration to commemorate this win. So we went back and forth, and we did a very, very cool piece of their car in the Paul Ricard circuit in the rain. I really loved that illustration. And yeah, I had some other contacts like this with companies, but I mostly do it for myself. I do have a day job that has nothing to do with this. I'm a software engineer, actually. I do this on the side in my free time, and I really, really enjoy it.
So two things. One, you take commissioned art. That's interesting. Maybe I'll get my dream of having a Subaru SVX and an Oldsmobile Alero parked nose to nose in a picture. I'll have to talk to you about
That's
this after.
possible. Yes.
But I love my favorite, like I said up on your site, by far are the Hot Wheels boxes you made.
Oh,
They look they are real, but they look like they could be sold right from Hot Wheels. They're pretty cool.
yeah. I actually tried to reach out in several ways to both Hot Wheels and Mattel. Never got a reply, so too bad. But I think they would make really, really cool card art. And I think it's, of course, that was kind of like a proof of concept, because it's not really cohesive between themselves to be like a real Hot Wheels series. But at the same time, I do not have one particular style. I think I do have several things that I like to just try and see how it comes out.
Mhm.
And that series with the Hot Wheels, I think, was really a very fun way of like showcasing the variety of things that I can do. And yeah, I was lucky enough that a lot of the cars that I had illustrated before, they had released as well. So I could just like do this mock-up, which everyone found really, really cool.
Well, maybe you should reach out to Majorette next. They're a little closer to where you are.
Yeah. Maybe we'll find something. If Hot Wheels don't want me, it's their loss.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the right attitude.
Yeah. So where can people find this art if they want to purchase it and peruse the library?
Yeah, well, the main website is creatinglightly.art, just like my handle in Blue Sky. And there you will find the store. I think the website itself, if you want to go directly, is creatinglightly.art/store. But you can just go to the homepage and find it there, and also see the gallery with all the old art that I do have. I also have a newsletter currently, which is you can find it at read.creatinglightly.art. And that is also something that I'm really, really proud of and really doing it quite often, because I do kind of longish articles of maybe experiences that I go through. Like currently I'm writing one for the 24 Hours of Le Mans. That was my first time there, and I really, really enjoyed it. I went there camping for the whole week with some friends, and it was super crazy. But yeah, I did something for some other events that I've been to, the MW, which is like a car meet for older, weirder cars here in the Netherlands as well. And I also like to take pictures and everything. So it's kind of like a whole package. You will find it in the newsletter as well.
That's so good. Also, congrats on doing one of the automotive bucket list items of going to Le Mans.
Thank you. I really couldn't have done it if I hadn't moved here. So that's one of the. Of course, it was not that I moved here because I wanted to go there, but now that I'm here, I'm taking the chance of like doing the Festival of Speed. I went to Le Mans. I went to an ELMS race at Spa a couple of years ago as well. And yeah, it's like being here is much closer than where I was before, that I had to grab those opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if I was there, I'd be going to the mall. I got to go to Nürburgring 24 last year, which was pretty cool. So that's one off the list. And Kyle got to go to Goodwood, which is cool. But there's many more we still need to do.
Yes, absolutely.
There's so much. That's the thing.
Yeah. You guys have to move here. It makes it easier.
Yeah. Well, we've taken up quite a bit of your time, so we'll let you go. But it's been awesome talking to you, and I encourage everyone listening to check out your site and see if there's anything they like there, or I believe there's a commission button if they have any requests of stuff they'd like to pay.
Honestly, don't even remember if I have like a commission button, but there for sure is a contact me button where people can reach out.
Well, that's been awesome talking to you. You gave us a lot of insight about car culture from two countries we didn't know a lot about, so that's cool. And we will definitely talk to you again sometime. But until then, have a great day, and hopefully we'll bump into you somewhere in Europe sometime.
Let's hope so, guys. Thanks a lot for having me. Had fun.
Thanks for being here.
All right.
All right, everyone. Welcome back to the Auto Guide Show, brought to you by eBay Motors. And once again, we have Colum Wood here to talk with me about F1. And it's been a pretty boring, not newsy week, hasn't it, Colum?
It's funny. I feel like every week, usually it's Mike on talking F1, and so nice to chat with you. Usually we feel like, oh, there's always a lot going on, but this week was really very wild. So yeah, Christian Horner is out. I mean, I'm sure this is kind of old news by the time the podcast hits and everyone's talked about it. I feel like the F1 world can't talk about it enough. Because holy crap, it's pretty big news. I decided to take a positive spin on this a little. He's the second, winningest team boss of all time. So that's a pretty big deal. So he's overseen a lot, and I think I go back, like they were nothing Like Red Bull came into
True.
Formula One like from absolutely nowhere, bought the old, Jaguar team that was, I remember I used to watch back then, and it was a disaster. It was just a joke of a team. Like it was beyond, like sometimes I think we have some like back runners now in F1 who are, they're not super competitive, but back then, like the Jaguar team wasn't like not very competitive. They weren't competitive at all. Like they were just like, they were like an F2 team. So they really built a total beast over the years. And obviously, yeah, I mean, there's been swirling, obviously there was the sexual allegation rumors a little while ago that were pretty, that I guess were tossed out, but it all seemed very strange at the same time. I mean, I don't want to crap on them. I know no accusations. And the reality is the team just fell apart, right? Like everything about Red Bull, Adrian Newey leaving, all kinds of other key players left. So he's gone now. And actually, interestingly, I noted that there are two other, the head of marketing and their head of communications are both sort of part of that package. So, yeah. So apparently they were close to Christian Horner. And obviously if you're, the people responsible for delivering the team message, it's kind of important that they probably switch to with the new boss. So if you're, either of us are looking for a nice raise, we could go be the, chief marketing officer for Red Bull Racing. That sounds like a good, I bet you that'd pay me a few more bucks than what I make here. So, and
it's probably not very stressful. I mean, now expectations are really low, so you're probably fine.
There you go. For a couple of years. You're right. So, yeah, I have some interesting like backstory on. I did a little digging into this, and one of the I guess people who know may have sort of seen the writing on the wall. I mean, I think what people have talked about, they've seen the writing on the wall for a long time, blah blah blah. But I guess the Red Bull itself is 49% owned by Dietrich Mateschitz, and 49% owned by this Thai pharmacist, Chaleo Uvidya, if I got that right. So, and if you do the math, that's 98%. The other 2% was owned by Uvidya's son, and he, a month ago, sold his stake. So the Uvidyas were like key proponents of Christian Horner, and it's believed that he's the real reason that despite all these ups and downs recently, he stayed in his spot. But now that family is no longer the majority shareholder of Red Bull, and so hence yeah, it's interesting. And I think there's all kinds of rumors in the background that, again, like Verstappen's dad wanted him out. I think, Verstappen wants to win too. So if he's not delivering a winning car, he probably wants him out. He came out and said lovely things on social media about Christian Horner and stuff like that. And how could you not?
Yeah, how could you not? Like, I mean, he created Verstappen's F1 career, and like there's a dynasty here of what, 20 years? Like,
yeah, and very much also defended. Verstappen is from a racing perspective, reasonably controversial. He's been very aggressive, and Horner had his back all those years too. When like I think back of the early days of Verstappen's career, he was very he was accused a lot of running people off the road and stuff like that. And when you're 10th on the grid and you do stuff like that, people point a lot of fingers. But when you're first on the grid and you do that kind of stuff, people say, well, you're a world champion. You get to do what you want. So,
yeah. I mean, so every time that I get to talk to you about F1, I am coming in as the more casual fan, and like watching Drive to Survive is pretty much all I've done. And weirdly, I don't want to blame Christian Horner. But I feel like the dynasty has been impressive. Like I can't detract from what Red Bull's accomplished in 2 decades, but it made it boring when, like, back in the Vettel days, when they were just winning constantly. It was like, I don't really want to watch this anymore. And actually, the last few years have been a lot more interesting. I feel like there's finally, challenges from multiple angles, and so it's a little sad to see this, because I really wanted to see how Christian works under pressure for a few years. But I guess he's been working under pressure for 20 years. So
I think he has. And there's a real interesting, I feel like I still feel like the Mercedes era of dominance was the most dominant, and that I was really like you didn't even watch the top cars because you didn't care. Max too. Although I feel like more recently they've had some challenges at the front, and he's but like that's this year. There were some years that, like the first year he won the championship, it was like it was actually like battling Mercedes. The second year there was some competition. The third year he just like walked away with everything. It was just boring as anything, right? So, but yeah, it'll be interesting how it all plays out. And hey, maybe Max won't be at Red Bull for that much longer either. There's continued rumors that he's looking to leave, and the story I guess what makes the most sense to me is that he sticks around for next year regardless, because then you see the pecking order of once the new regulations come in, how everybody lands, and then from there you can basically then you pick the team you want to go to, right? Like why would you go to Mercedes now if Mercedes ends up being terrible in the future? You just seal the deal. So
yeah,
you wait a year, you see who's the best, and then you go where you want to, and because it's kind of irrelevant, all this stuff about contracts, blah blah. If the teams want a good driver, they'll just buy out the contract. They figure out a solution to get out of it. They're like, oh, that cost us $20 million. Whoop-de-doo, right? Or
oh well,
yeah, like that. They figure all this stuff out. It's kind of silly. If you want somebody bad enough, it's almost like not like other sports in that way. Like those other sports, they'll still take on the penalty of a contract, but it seems here that it's just like, look, just get the person and go with it. So on the you were saying earlier, funny, the Drive to Survive, this is going to be a hell of an episode.
Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah. So the I could tell the guys at Netflix are like, yes, this is great. So there'll be some juicy stuff there.
Yeah, they're just going to be swimming in Scrooge McDuck levels of money from all the subscriptions going up. My thought was with Goodwood going on this weekend, I wonder if Christian's there.
I don't know. So I suspect he's probably like bowed out or got to leave. But so actually, I was going to look at that because often what happens is even the team principals and stuff like that will drive the cars. So I could talk about this forever. I have a Goodwood related story as well, actually, because that's super enjoyable. I don't know if you want to hit the next slide there.
We will do that.
The picture's tiny, but that's okay.
It's very cool.
So this is, we were all talking about this on Slack yesterday about the Toyota's new GT car and the mystery top of the line performance model, and what it sounds like. There's like the red street car and the race car. Interestingly, I saw just this morning that this weekend, two of the drivers will be the Haas F1 drivers. So Ollie Bierman and why is his name escaping me? Esteban Ocon. So each of them are going to get to drive them, I think, on Saturday or Sunday up the hill, because they usually run them like more than once. They do like a daily routine. So have you been to Goodwood?
I was there last year.
Yeah, I'm so jealous. I've never been. It's one of those things I always want to go to. So
I also got to ride up the hill.
Did you? What in? What in?
In Polestar, because Polestar had hosted me. So it was in one of the special editions of the Polestar 2, that really limited one. It was a very cool experience to go up the hill.
Lucky. That's amazing. That's amazing. So this Toyota, if for anyone who's listening, the past couple maybe weeks or months, I've been just beating the drum about how Toyota is getting more serious about Formula One. Like they are all the time. There's these little things they're doing that indicates like we all knew about the sponsorship of the Haas team, but then they started doing all these other little things that sort of start to put the pieces together, getting like drivers kind of lined up, stuff like that. So the fact that now like you have to think about like the global importance of these cars, this Toyota sports car, how important it is to Toyota, and then you have the Haas drivers driving it. Like there's like I can foresee either a future total Toyota takeover of the Haas team or something is going on. Like there's definitely Toyota is coming to F1 in a much bigger way than they have been, and all of the cards are just slowly getting lined up. There's all these little queues, and when I saw this morning, I was like, oh yeah. Haas has a huge display there this weekend. Gene Haas is apparently driving one of the Haas F1 cars up the hill. I'm like, Gene's an old dude. Like this is good for him. So so I was like, that's very interesting. Just keep watching that. I feel like this is my like one little thing. I'm like, I'm gonna be right about this. So I'm gonna keep shouting about it until I'm right. So
well, and you mentioned the Jaguar F1 team from like the early 2000s, and Toyota didn't have a great the first time that it was an F1 either. But when we talk about some of the best engines that can be made for road cars, Toyota has made some fantastic things. So, yeah, maybe this will be more serious.
I think they will. I think Toyota learned, I think, a lot of lessons from their first stint out in F1. They were actually getting really good right near the end. Like they were the easily, yeah, like they were getting really competitive right at the end of that stint. And it was what was it, the global financial crisis of, which one was that? Like the .com bubble or something. Or
2008.
Yeah, it was the 08. Yeah, it was the 08
Yeah.
crisis. Basically, that killed it, right? They pulled back. Honda pulled back at the same time. Toyota was really good, close to being a much more impressive presence in F1. And I think it took them a long time to learn the lessons that you basically can't run it out of Japan. I think they had to like if you look at the old success they've had at Le Mans and stuff like that, that's all because they basically they built a facility in Germany and they let the Germans run it. And here you need to build a facility in England and just near where all the other Formula One people are and do it right. Like you need to go where the expertise are and push it out. So I think Toyota's coming F1. That's my prediction. So
well, I mean, I'm looking forward to it because they make some fantastic road cars. Not that really translates to F1, but still, I trust Toyota to take a serious swing at this. They don't tend to do half measures these days.
They don't, and that's why I think we're seeing this in true Toyota fashion. This slow process. It could still take 2 more years before there's anything really serious. But when they do it, I think they'll go big. So it's coming.
Yeah. Well, Colum, I mean, we've chatted for a good amount of time here. Do you want to spend a minute to talk about the third little piece of news that you mentioned beforehand?
Just throw it up.
Throw
it up. Nico Hülkenberg. I just love seeing this. I remember he almost won at the German. He almost got a podium at the German Grand Prix 3 years ago, and it got ended up 4th. I was so happy to see him actually get this. He's a driver who I think could have had a much more impressive career had he wound up as he just sometimes the dice doesn't roll the way you want it to. He could have been just as easily. He could have been at Mercedes all those years as for basically a Bottas being and he would have lined up a whole bunch of podiums and other stuff. So he's a better driver than his statistics ever will say. But just super happy. It was just a lovely story there. That'll make it a great Netflix video as well. So
yeah, there we go. Well, Colum, thanks again for taking the time to talk about F1. And listeners and viewers, we'll see you next week back with Mike.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me. Good to chat with you, Kyle.
All right, everyone, and we will be right back in just a sec. All right, and welcome back. This has been another week of the AutoGuide Show, brought to you by eBay Motors, and Greg and I are just going to quickly touch on what we'll be driving this week and what's coming up next week.
All right. Well, I'm in the Buick Enclave, which is, I think, pretty interesting. I'm going to do some writing about that. I used a lot of Super Cruise, which was a great time. Really, took the stress out of driving when we went up north. So excited to tell you about that. And I also have the Range Rover Sport, which is the theme of the show is going all over the place, both sides of the crossover market there. So
nice.
Cool.
Which powertrain in the Range Rover Sport? Because I know there's quite a lot of them.
The plug-in hybrid. I had 50 miles of range, which I still have not exhausted. I actually took it over to the other side of town, saw Colum, and I still have about 10 miles left. So it's great.
Excellent.
A lot of fun.
Nice. I have dual cars this week because, Mike is on vacation, and look, we weren't about to say no to a Lexus LC.
No.
So I am driving that. It is the coupe, which I've never driven before, always the convertibles, and it's that copper crest color. It gets attention everywhere, and it's journalist catnip. I've said this a few times, but I feel like the LC and the Mazda Miata are actually kind of similar in the sense that they work as really great palate cleansers for our job of reviewing, and this is what a GT really is. So I'll go further into it when I review it, but I've been enjoying it. And then actually the Porsche Panamera GTS is the other car that's sitting downstairs this week, because the Panamera was redone last year, and the GTS models are always these sweet spots of V8 power, but not too much power. And I really liked the plug-in hybrid that I drove last when I drove a Panamera. So I was curious if this is really worth the extra outlay. And then next week, I see the Subaru, and that'll be fun. And I drive the Cadillac Optic, which I am very excited about because small EVs, especially premium ones, are kind of at a premium. So I just am really looking forward to it. Cadillac's EVs have more or less impressed me. Looking forward to it.
Sounds pretty good. We've got quite the fleets here. It seems like the last few weeks. It's July, so this is the time we get these cars. Couple months, they start to taper off, and it's just crossover city.
Yeah. By mid-September, like all of these are gone. So this has been the Auto Guide Show, brought to you by eBay Motors. And everyone, have a great week, and we'll see you next week.
Picture this. You're halfway through a DIY car fix, tools scattered everywhere, and boom, you realize you're missing a part. It's okay, because you know whatever it is, it's on eBay. They've got everything: brakes, headlights, cold air intakes, whatever you need, and it's guaranteed to fit, which means no more crossing your fingers and hoping you ordered the right thing. All the parts you need, at the prices you'll love, guaranteed fit every time. eBay, things people love.